It's strange how some houses seem to call to you, as if they've been waiting for someone specific for a very long time. For Claire Morrison, a travel blogger chasing solitude, a remote cabin deep in the Vermont woods promised a week of pure, uninterrupted peace. No internet, no city noise, just her, the trees, and the final chapters of her book. What she did not know was that the cabin already had a story of its own, a story that was far from finished. Her first night was just as she'd imagined. Quiet, cozy. She unpacked her bags, the scent of old pine and damp earth filling the air. She lit a fire, its warm glow dancing across the wooden walls, and recorded a quick voice note for her blog. Day 1, she began, her voice a soft murmur against the crackle of the flames. The cabin is beautiful, exactly as advertised. But there's something odd about the silence here. It feels heavy. It's almost too quiet. As she spoke, she noticed a peculiar thing. A faint echo, almost imperceptible, followed her words. It wasn't the natural reverberation of an empty room. It was more like someone was whispering her words back to her, just a half-second behind. She laughed it off nervously. Old wood and bad acoustics, she muttered, trying to convince herself more than anything else. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, painting stripes of gold across the floor. As she brewed coffee, she noticed her voice recorder was still on, its battery light blinking. Curious, she rewound it and pressed play. Her own sleepy voice from the night before filled the cabin. Old wood and bad acoustics. But then, after a brief pause, another sound emerged from the small speaker. A chilling, raspy whisper that was definitely not her own. Two simple words that made the coffee cup tremble in her hand. Don T. Stay. She froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. She was absolutely certain she hadn't said that. A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. She immediately tried to contact the property owner, sending a quick, urgent email about the strange recording. But the hours ticked by with no reply. The silence of the cabin now felt less like peace and more like a threat. Desperate for a distraction, she decided to explore the small space more thoroughly. That's when she found it. Hidden beneath a worn, braided rug in the center of the living room was a small, iron ring, a trap door. She pulled, and with a groan of protest, the wooden panel lifted slightly. It led to a dark, musty-smelling basement, but she couldn't open it fully. It was sealed shut with old, rusted iron nails. And there, carved deep into the wood, was a horrifying message, as if scratched by a desperate hand. It remembers your voice. That night, a storm rolled in, its fury matching the tempest in Claire's mind. The power flickered and died, plunging the cabin into near-total darkness. Her laptop battery, her last link to the outside world, was dead. Huddled by candlelight, she turned to the only thing she had left for comfort, her recorder. If anyone ever hears this, she whispered, her voice trembling, I think the house listens. She stopped, her breath catching in her throat. The recorder, still in record mode, had just played back her sentence in her own voice. I think the house listens. But it didn't stop there. A new line was added in that same, perfect imitation of her own voice. A line she had never spoken. It's my turn now. Suddenly, her phone, which had been dead for hours, pinged with a notification. A new file had been mysteriously transferred to it. The file name sent a wave of ice through her veins. Claire Morrison, last entry. Wave. With hands that shook uncontrollably, she pressed play. It was her voice again, clear and calm, reading an entry from her private diary, a passage she had written just that afternoon. She had never, ever recorded it. Then the audio changed. The whisper from the first night returned, no longer faint but sharp and clear, right next to the microphone. I told you not to stay. When the caretaker arrived the next morning for a routine check, he found the cabin door creaking open in the wind. Inside, everything was pristine. The bed was neatly made. The fireplace was swept clean. On the small wooden table, the voice recorder sat, its red light still blinking. He picked it up and played back the last few seconds. All he heard was the sound of faint, steady breathing, and then an abrupt, deafening silence. A week later, the cabin had new guests, a young couple looking for a romantic getaway. They told the owner the place was perfect, cozy, quiet, everything they'd hoped for. Except for one small, peculiar thing. Every time they spoke, they could swear the old wooden walls answered back. Some houses don't want to be empty. They just wait for new voices to keep them alive. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoy tales of suspense and mystery, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another journey into the unknown.